And then there were 3 CMEs. That's coronal mass ejections. We'll tell you all about it tonight at the Daily Space Weather Show. Thanks for tuning into the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Wasting no time. Here's the past 24 hours from SDO. That's ionized helium, and you might see some major activity popping off down there. A nearly X-class flare and a nearly perfectly directed CME, coronal mass ejection, where the sun releases huge amounts of matter out of its atmosphere, sometimes to smash into Earth's magnetosphere. Here we've added 193 angstroms for some additional contrast. And there's limb darkening. There's a large flare. It's right in the Earth-facing longitudes. So from an east-west perspective, just in the Earth-facing zone there, a perfect example of indeed some quite sweet activity. So that makes 3 earthly directed CMEs, and this one is the most earthly directed of all. This one could cause some major geomagnetic storms. Don't be surprised to see a KP8 plus from this one. So yeah, we could see a major geomagnetic storm. Now last night, just before bedtime, we thought for sure the activity going off in the northern hemisphere would be the story of the day, but the sun has outdone itself today on November 28th. Here's that activity in the northern hemisphere, and it is not to be sneezed at. I don't know what that means. I don't know why you would sneeze at a thing, but hey, that's nothing to sneeze at. Or something. That's some kind of a thing somebody said at some point about something. Anyway, do not sneeze at this star. It could be very hazardous to absolutely nobody's health. There's another 24-hour video of where the real action went on. It was like an M9.8 class flare, I think it was. We'll get into it. And before we do that, let's talk sunspots for a brief period. They've been mostly stable, although another new large sunspot just rose north of the equator, right over here in the east. You'll see the magnetic field rising here at the end of the video on the colorized magnetogram. So yeah, there's colorized magnetogram. Like the continuum imagery we showed, this right here, that is November 27th and November 28th to date. And we do see some evolution of this sunspot group down here in the southern hemisphere. Sunspot 3500, the one that was responsible for that large solar flare, and around the location of where that coronal mass ejection emanated. By the way, the following are paid endorsements. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to press the like button and visit our links. We created a massive web ring for people just like you. So visit us on social media, etc. Find our links at smashomash.com and welcome to the Neo Renaissance. We launched it to be a free speech reality back in February of 2019, not a free speech farce. We are free speech purists. And once again, these represent paid endorsements. First product of the day is the Shartlight product. Yes, Shartlighting. It's when somebody fails to gaslight you and only succeeds at reducing their credibility. Have people been trying to gaslight you on the internet? I guarantee you it's happened if you've been involved in certain idiotic Facebook arguments, perhaps arguments about cosmology, maybe even arguments about geophysics. Who knows? Don't Shartlight. It's just pathetic. Shartlighting. It should be a term. It is a term. We coined it. It means to fail to gaslight somebody, only to crap on one's own credibility. Another paid endorsement is our L-lysine product. Now, of course, your immune system can't do its job if it doesn't have the right building blocks. One of those building blocks is the essential amino acid, L-lysine. You can't get it from, you can't make it yourself, folks. You've got to get this one from diet. So L-lysine, responsible for involved in the production of hormones, enzymes, and antibodies. I'll make no medical claims about this, but again, if your immune system doesn't have the right raw materials, it will not function properly. So perhaps pick up some lysine from our Amazon shop. Links below the video to that. Amazon.com/shop/SmashOmash. Makes a great gift. Help your friends and foes survive. Also, there's the Hemp Lucid shop. You can find links below the video to that. And don't forget to enter the promo code SmashOmash10. It'll save you as many percent. That's 10% on your order at Hemp Lucid. So enter the promo code SmashOmash10 and save 10% on checkout. HempLucid.com. Another one of our VCPs or value chain partners. You can also help out the channel by becoming a member of the Smash Team at SmashOmash.com/SmashTeam, the official subscription services site. And we sent out email alerts about this latest CME that's on the way. It's going to arrive sometime late in the day on, might even arrive as early as midday on December 1st. Exciting stuff, folks. Exciting stuff. The Smash Team got the update quite promptly as we send out email alerts to the Smash Team. Anyway, these are the volcanoes that are erupting. Reykjanes, not erupting. In fact, deformation happening down there as lava cools. Luatolo is exploding, though, producing a 7,000-foot ash plume. Krakatoa continues to explode. Big write-up there about Krakatoa. It's about a mile-high ash plume over the Lesser Sunda Islands. Semeru exploding, flight level 140 over East Java, Indonesia. It's a flight level 140, 14,000-foot ash plume, 9,000-foot ash plume over Tokono. Popocatépetl, flight level 260. Sancha Guido, flight level 140 as it explodes in Guatemala. Similar ash plume over Fuego. 14,000 feet above sea level is the top of the ash cloud. Sangay exploding, flight level 200, 20,000-foot ash plume. Revenador exploding, 14,000-foot ash plume. And Sabancaya exploding in Peru. It's a 24,000-foot ash plume, flight level 240. Next, earthquakes. Yeah, earthquakes, those are a thing. We cover them daily on the channel to provide some sane coverage of the solar system's events. So there's the past 90 days. These are the quakes of a 5 or greater magnitude over the past 24 hours. Kuril Island starts out our list with a 5.1 at 3:37 this morning. The Aleutian Islands had a 5.6, one of the world's largest quakes of the past 24 hours there in America, the U.S. of A. The Fox Islands there at 6:13 this morning, featuring a 5.6, a 5.8 at Vanuatu. That was at 7:39 this morning. Indonesia had a 5.2 at 11:03 this morning, also on November 28th. Tonga had a 5.1. Barbados had a 5.1. Papua New Guinea had a 5.0. And here ends our quake list. Next, we'll get into some more sweet stats. First, another 24-hour video from SDO. The Solar Dynamics Observatory. And here's a closer view. You'll see a radial wave propagating after that solar flare right there. You'll see waves emanating out. Another indication that the sun has a real surface. Have you entertained the possibility that stars may be made of condensed matter as opposed to gaseous plasmas? I guess it's kind of an important thing to consider. And let's talk stats. The 10.7 centimeter radial flux is now down to 182, I think it is. 182 is the radial flux. I think that's right. There's the 1 year graph of the radial flux represented by the black line, depicted thusly. Yeah, 182 is the radial flux. There's a Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard, and they are only forecasting 1 CME impact. We forecasted 2. Well, maybe that is 2. I'm not sure. I think NOAA might agree. But again, a second event likely to arrive sometime after 12 noon Universal Time on December 1st. So 3 CMEs on the way, folks. 3 CMEs on the way. Good stuff. Good stuff. And here is NASA's forecast. You can see they've got 2 of those on the model, but this most recent one not modeled yet. Well, it's too early for it to be modeled. Although it's not too early for us to send out email alerts to the Smash Team. By the way, thanks again to Gold and Silver Smash Team members, especially Gold annual paid-up subscriptions. The best value. NASA doesn't have it forecasted either, so let's just skip their Enlil spiral entirely. They've only got one of the events on there, so let's move on to Earth's magnetic moment from space for the past 4 hours. So here is magnetohydrodynamic pressure. We'll bring that back. Geomagnetically calm conditions on planet Earth. That is the magnetohydrodynamic pressure out to about 12 Earth diameters. Keep in mind the space weather modeling framework relies on a lot of different variables, everything from the electron flux to magnetometer data, solar wind density, solar wind velocity, magnetic field strength and orientation. That's the last 4 hours of the space weather modeling framework model. Here's our magnetic perturbations map, our ground magnetic perturbations, showing Earth's magnetic moment from the ground, the past 4 geomagnetically calm hours. This depicts not magnetohydrodynamic pressure, but magnetic flux density, the units of which are known as nanotesla. So you're looking at changes to Earth's B field or delta B magnetic flux density. Calm conditions. KP index is at 2, KP2. And again, we've got a possible G4 geomagnetic storm coming, possible KP8 plus coming on December 1st. Next, the real-time solar wind. We'll look at the ACE first. There's the ACE showing about 2.7 protons per cubic centimeter for the solar wind density. Solar wind velocity here just over 400 kilometers per second. Here's the Discover. Little higher speed there. It looks like we do have some coronal hole high-speed stream mixed in there. 2 separate signals, one around 480 kilometers a second and one at about 440 kilometers per second. Solar wind density there at about 6 protons per cubic centimeter. The GOES magnetometers. Pretty smooth. It is geomagnetically calm conditions. Next, our line of sight ecliptic plane. This is the top view ecliptic plane field plot. Yeah, that's what it is. Earth has, as of yesterday, entered a South Pole sector. And you can expect that to persist for an ongoing period of time here, as it is a large sector. Keep in mind the magnetic environment can change with no warning. Here's our line of sight field plot. You got to have it. It's one of the most definitive views of the sun for the past 4 days you could possibly have. The line of sight field plot, part of the National Solar Observatory data. It shows you the photosphere magnetism, the coronal magnetism, as well as the solar B field. That's the blue potential field surface source lines. Here is our line of sight ecliptic plane field plot. And again, South Pole current sheet expected to persist for days. As we're about to enter the month of December with some geomagnetic storms. Next, coronal holes. Here's our line of sight coronal hole plot, and we've got lots of South Pole coronal holes here. Let's take a look at those from SDO. There you go. It's SDO for the past 24. And you can expect the continued uptick in coronal holes in the coming days. Man, that filament eruption there looks like it caused a bunch of coronal holes to open up. Possible indication a lot of plasma is headed toward Earth's direction, and it certainly is. Lots of plasma on the way, folks. Could be major geomagnetic storms. So the night of December 1st could be a fantastic night to catch the aurora, hoping for clear skies when that arrives. Next, sunspots. And like we said yesterday, a continued dip in the sunspot number. Remember, folks, you don't need to see solar flares or sunspots to see coronal mass ejections. These are separate phenomenon. If you don't look, you won't see. Here's our flare probability monitor and scoreboard. Most likely place to see large flares remain this massive group up here and sunspot 3500. See what we said yesterday about those groups. 3500 remains the most magnetically complex sunspot with a high likelihood of large solar flares to continue. It hasn't evaporated, folks. Next, sunspots from SDO. Again, a little bit of evolution in sunspot 3500 there in the southern hemisphere, but not a lot. And again, one more sunspot did rise right over here, over the northeastern limb. Oh, we got some more groups that formed in here. Check it out. Sunspot number to rise here today. So tomorrow's video, we should see sunspot number there rising back up to around 190, I'll say. Assuming no other groups rapidly evaporate, we've got, looks like at least four countable umbra there, maybe even more. Oh, there's another group up there also. So another conflagration of sunspots, folks. Sunspots have increased, period. Next, energetic particles and solar flares. We ain't got no spikes in the proton flux. And like we said yesterday, the likelihood of a spike in the proton flux is kind of high. We continue to have a very high likelihood of large solar flares and additional coronal mass ejections. Indeed, there are huge filaments on the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. Let's take a look at that flare. It was a pretty long duration. And peak flux was right around 1950, so just before 2000 universal time. The biggest flare in quite some time there, not quite an X class. An M9.82 it looks like. And here comes some fantastic views from SDO. There's one of the optimal wavelengths through which to view flare activity. The extreme ultraviolet wavelength of 131 angstroms. That is pretty sweet. We also got 94 angstroms. Wham! Here's a little closer view. If you wanted a little closer view, I think we've got that compensated. There you go. Have we accommodated your close-ups of this flare? Let us know in the comments. And here is the spectacular 131 angstroms wavelength. That is a bunch of very hot iron, actually. And yes, if you're wondering, that does make the sun the solar system's largest blacksmith. Next, getting to a star chart. I'm always interested in what's going on overhead, so here's what's going on overhead. That's shut up, Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Oh my God, I'm all full of space. So that's what's going on overhead, folks. You just press the Now button here on skyandtelescope.org's lovely star chart, and you've got a nearly full moon there, also a couple of gas giants. Next, our solar system forecast. That is where things are today. That is where things will be in 1 week on December 5th. Next, our astronomy photo of the day, and we're going to have to make this one full screen. Dag! That is freaking sweet. This is Ganymede, and we believe it could be the largest body of water in the solar system, containing more water than Earth under those icy layers. Those lines are believed to be made by shifting ice plates. So very interesting. It is a world that is believed to possibly contain water larger than Mercury even, also larger than Pluto, the massive Jupiter-facing moon Ganymede. It does indeed face Jupiter all the time, similar to the way Earth's moon always faces Earth. It's in a fixed position relative to the planet. That's the astronomy photo of the day, Jupiter's moon Ganymede. Next, CMEs. I guess that's kind of important since that's going to be what the story remains. So here are yesterday's CMEs. See yesterday's space weather video if you want to see about that. That's a limited amount of data there. Oh wait, that's yesterday. There we go. There's 1127. And we conveniently put all of these daily space weather videos in a playlist. If you want to see what was happening a year ago, we got that covered. So those are yesterday's CMEs. That's 106 frames from George Mason University and only 8 frames from today. Let's skip ahead. There's Lasco C2 and C3. And early this morning, you'll see that CME propagating, and then a second one later this afternoon. And that one, folks, is almost a perfect halo. So that is a legit Earth-directed CME. It's almost as earthly directed as it could possibly be. And let's show this again. What happened? What happened, folks? And right at the end there, just around 2000, coming out of the coronagraph, is a big time space weather event on the way, folks. Check it out. Massive halo eruption there from El Sol. We'll also show it from Stereo A's perspective. There is your raw coronagraph on the left. Difference imagery on the right. Gotta have it. Oh, does it even have the CME? It's going to be close. Of course, it's happened recently, so of course it's going to be close. And nope. Ah, what a tease. All right. So let's get to our custom CME imagery. We definitely have it right there at the end. Yowzers. Here's a closer view. That is totally sweet. Here's an even closer view. We've added 193 angstroms. That is a great effect right there. SDO plus Lasco C2. Dag. Good times for space weather. And here we'll just show SDO by itself. Fantastic view of that CME. And let's move on to filaments. There still are a lot on the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. Chance of coronal mass ejection is just about 100% for the coming 24 hours. Look at all those huge filaments in the northern hemisphere. Look at all those huge filaments in the southern hemisphere. That's a lot of filaments. I'll just leave it at that. There's Big Bear. Again, a new sunspot just rose over the eastern limb north of the equator. We've got huge prominences there in the southeast. Could be some more active regions trailing down there as well. Sunspot number to uptick tomorrow. Before we get the bonus features, let's take a look at the last few frames here as we saw this CME propagating. Oh, darn. We only have those. Anyway, there is the aftermath of that. So it could be a long duration event as well, folks. Very hard to tell the duration of a CME when it's headed directly toward you. Anyway, here come bonus features. Starting with satellite charging hazards. We do have some satellite charging hazards here. Currently over the western Indian Ocean and East Africa, the Middle East, etc. Some surface charging there as low-energy electrons build up on the outside of spacecraft. There's your GOES electron flux coming up off the floor as expected, not quite as high as we expected. There is the one-year graph of the electron flux, and there is the forecast model. And we are expecting an uptick before another cratering of the electron flux. So, when geomagnetic storms happen, the electron flux becomes an erroneous measurement. We won't get into the physics of it. We'll show you the F layer, though, that's for sure. Here is the F layer of the ionosphere, folks. Yeah, the F layer. Right there. Feel free to pause the video on this frame if you're not familiar with the data depicted. Here's the F layer. So that is what's going on at about 300 kilometers of altitude. There's the anomalygram, and it's quite normal here. It's just what you would expect, unless you were idiotically forecasting an apocalypse for no apparent reason. If you were idiotically forecasting an apocalypse for no apparent reason, then this is going to be a problem for you, and you will not show it on your channel because you may be a cult leader cherry-picking data. Anyway, there's the latest image, 2300 universal time, the raw vibrational frequency known as the ionosonde. And there is the anomalygram, anomaly in megahertz from the 30-day median. We'll also show the WHAM, the whole atmosphere model. Total electron content on the left, maximum usable frequency on the right. That is a snapshot of the WHAM, the whole atmosphere, man. Here comes total electron content by itself. There is the globe view. And make sure you leave a comment if I loathe you. Here's the North American view, and it's all jacked up. Look at the anomalygram that we usually show. What's up with that? I pressed refresh. It didn't work. Is it because Kim Jong-un is detonating nuclear weapons in space? Well, probably not. But there are some high electron count anomalies happening over places like Western Canada, portions of Alaska. I wouldn't blame North Korean space nukes on that, though. I would just move on to show the latest. Check out the Eastern Limb, folks. Once again, new sunspots showing up. And please leave a comment if each sunspot that forms makes you mad. We may help you find psychological counseling for your mental impairment. Anyway, time to get to meteorology. Starting out with jet streams, as it's a story in itself. Once in a while, the jet stream becomes a story, so there you go. Huge jet stream convergence happening here, right over the eastern U.S., and then a divergence in the North Atlantic. Anyway, that's the jet stream scenario for the planet. Here's the eastern portion. Here are the surface winds. Central portion, surface winds. Europe, Africa, and the Middle East jet streams. Western Hemisphere's jet streams. And the surface winds of the west. Next, clouds and fog. Lots of our viewers like to look up. So there's a shortwave radiation map showing you the clear and likely cloudy sky portions. Keep in mind it doesn't show smoke, but it does show water vapor. It shows 3.9 micrometer infrared radiation, technically. And let's check snow depths. Because, hey, what's going on with snow? How much is there? Windy.com can tell you. And Pennsylvania's got some snow. Also, West Virginia. Don't forget Albuquerque. Anyway, that's the current snow situation. Here is our weather station, weather.gov, the homepage of the National Weather Service, and a bunch of freeze warnings there around the Florida Panhandle, as well as northern Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi. And here come some forecasts. First thing we'll show is the GFS accumulated positive snow depth change. That is in inches. So more snow coming in the next 3 days. That's where it'll be, according to the GFS model. We show it because it's accurate. Here's pressure and precipitation. "72-hour GFS, pressure and precipitation." Here is temperature anomaly in degrees Celsius. So the cold will blow out of the east coast and be replaced with much warmer air in a few days. 72-hour GFS temperature anomaly forecast in degrees Celsius. Next lightning. Once again, happening over Brazil. Every evening, massive amounts of clouds form. And thunderstorms erupt. Next, a real-time lightning map, courtesy of lightningmaps.org. I would recommend it next time you hear thunder. Let us know if you've forecasted thunder. Panama getting some. That looks like a wild place. Anyway, there's your full globe map. Pretty low on the lightning strikes here, only about 100 strikes per minute. Don't forget about the Ask a Physicist segment. We're going to change it, actually. It's currently called Ask a Particle Physicist. We're going to change it to Ask a Physicist, I guess. That makes it a little broader. We can ask more interesting questions to Mr. Bagashov. You can find a link to smashomash.com below this video. From smashomash.com, you can link to our forum. And in the General Science Forum, you'll find the Ask a Particle Physicist area. So why not join us over there if you've got a question for a particle physicist? You can also join us over on X. It's the best place to share things like auroral imagery. I mean, we share lots of stuff over there. There's lots of exclusive content over there on Twitter, known by people who don't understand branding as X. And thanks to our -1 follower for the past 2 days. If you enjoy the content, press the like button. Tell your friends and foes about the channel. And you might find that our shorts are extremely popular. Views upon views upon views upon views. Again, press the like button. If you're new to the channel, press subscribe. Do yourself a favor and get the world's most comprehensive daily space weather content delivered straight to your YouTube feed. If you're not getting stuff on your YouTube feed, join the Smash Team. We even send out email alerts to bronze level Smash Team members, and that costs you $0 per month. There's also a silver level and a gold level and a gold annual paid up subscription. So check it out. These are things we put in place. It's on you to utilize them. We'll close out with the U.S. Doppler radar map, clouds and fog, and water vapor. So there's Doppler. We're focused on the lower 48. And that is what's happening. Here is the clouds and fog map depicted by shortwave radiation. And here is the satellite water vapor map. Here's a recap to close this mother out. Doppler, clouds and fog, water vapor. And once again, here's me climbing back into the bunker because I've become spooked of space because I've been taking in a lot of nonsense on YouTube from channels who ought not to ever cover space weather. Anyway, back to the bunker. I'm going back to the bunker again. I'm really spooked of space because of what stupid people said.